Hello and welcome to the Rangers Rabble Academy review. Tonight I'm joined by Cammy. How's it going?
Very well, mate. Very well.
Good stuff. Right, since we're only going to be doing kind of 20-30 minutes, we'll just fire straight into it. Obviously sad to see some of the players leaving the club over the summer there, including Danny Finlayson, Nathan Young-Coombs, Dapple Mabudi, Matty Shields, Harris O'Connor, Brian Kinnear, Nicky Hogarth and obviously Jamie Barjonas. Was there any of those guys, Cammy, that surprised you in terms of moving on in the summer?
No, particularly. To be honest with you, I think the likes of Barjo and Dapo, I think, are at that age. Particularly Jamie Barjonas, I think, has been out on loan a lot of times, and he needs to play. He's not played a lot of football over the last few years, so I think for his own career it was important. And I think Dapo, was probably the one that surprised a lot of people. But I think he's been offered a deal, but he's taken the. He's obviously thought I'm best fared to get out and play. I hope he picks a place that he's going to play. I hope he doesn't just go for a development situation to another development situation. I hope he goes to a Dunfermline or somewhere like that and actually tries to cement a place, you know. But Nathan Young-Coombs, I think, had been rumoured for a while that he was going to go back closer to home, and he's got himself a good move to Brentford, you know. But nah, none of them were a huge surprise. Obviously, Nicky Hogarth, I think I'll watch that one with interest. I've shared with you before. I played football with his dad back in the olden days, and I'll follow that one with interest. He's been out and had a lot of experience on loans, which I think will hold him in good stead for where he goes next. But these guys just need to go out and everything that they've learned over the period at Rangers and go out and show that they've got the ability and the mentality to fight back for leaving Rangers.
No, I think that's one of the big things. For all the guys that are moving on, they're all moving on for different reasons. You know, like Danny already had this deal kind of signed with St Mirren, so when he went out on loan, there was like an obligation for him to go there. So it's great for Danny. He's going to be staying in the Premier League next year. Hopefully he gets some game time. For Nathan Young-Coombs, as you said, there had been so much talk about him going back to London and things like that. So the move to Brentford, Rangers obviously received a fee for that as well, which will get back into being used, hopefully, for some new players. Dapple was the one that was always the question mark around, would he stay for another year? But I think at this stage of his career, he needs to go and play. I saw there was rumours that he might be going to Watford. That would concern me slightly because he might play under 23 football. I'm not really too sure that's what he needs, but obviously Dapple will know better than what I do. Matty Shields had obviously signed for Hamilton. That was kind of well publicised. The club confirmed that. Harris, O'Connor, Brian and Nicky. I think there's obviously some speculation that there's some clubs interested. Brian going to Birmingham, I think it was one of the ones. Nicky's obviously got quite a few offers for Scotland and England by the sounds of it. Jamie Barjonas went to Kelty, and I think one of the guys I forgot was Zach Butterworth. He's obviously left the football club as well. So good luck to all the lads. You know, I hope they all get sorted out and they all go on to have good careers, because at the end of the day, you know, you want to see these young lads do well after they leave Rangers. It's not going to work for every player, we know that. But, you know, for these guys, the fact that there's like 4 of them already signed up to clubs, hopefully the rest of these guys will get signed up reasonably quickly and they can get back playing regular football, because that's what they all need at the end of the day. Right, moving on to the next segment. It's the Lowland League. Obviously, it's not that far off now. 17th of July, the Lowland League will start. Rangers will play Bo'ness in the first game of the season, which is quite exciting. Looking forward to that. I've never seen Rangers play Bo'ness before, so it'll be something new. Cammy, what do you expect from the B team in the Lowland League? Do you think we can push for the top 3-4 positions, or do you think that's kind of unrealistic given maybe the age group that's going to be playing in that team?
I think it's going to be hard to actually gauge. I mean, you would think Rangers against Bo'ness, but I mean, Bo'ness is a team that's local to myself, and they've got a very good setup. I think they've got a mix of younger players and a bit of experience. So I think I think the first game against Bo'ness will be a good gauge of how it's going to go. I certainly don't think we're going to go an unbeaten season or invincibles or anything like that, you know. But I think, like you say, I think the age situation, these guys are going to be playing against men. It's going to be proper men's football, proper competitive football. I think there's so much. It's just kid on, soft football that they're playing at that sort of age. I think I'm a great fan of this idea of the Lowland League as it is, and I think there's obviously a proposal moving forward that it will become for both sides of the old firm that we're both going to be in that lower league environment for the next few years. But I think it'll be probably harder than a lot of people think.
Yeah, I feel the same, mate. Obviously the majority of the squad that's going to play in the Lowland League have just finished the under-18 season. So you're basically playing against guys that are 16, 17 in the main. They're now going to be coming up against men who are going to be physically stronger than them. You know, they're going to be a bit more wily in terms of what you can do on a football pitch. You know, I mean, like, sort of when you get to that level of the game, it's not all pretty football. There's going to be a lot of directness. There's going to be a lot of balls into the box. There's going to be a lot of physical contact. And this is something probably in the opening couple of months that the guys are going to have to get used to it. You know, I mean, I think it was East Kilbride that signed Lee Miller, who obviously the old Falkirk co-manager. I mean, Lee Miller coming up against maybe two 17-year-old centre-backs, I'll probably be thinking, oh, here we go, this is going to be a good fun this afternoon. But that's for our boys to think, well, yeah, I want to show him that I'm a good defender. I want to show him that I'm a good player, that I can cope with what he's going to throw at me. And that's what we're going to learn over the season. We're going to learn a lot about a lot of players in this squad. I think that's the exciting thing. And I agree, I think it's going to be tough. You know, there might be some games we might lose 3 or 4 goals for set pieces just because we're not big enough and strong enough to cope with what these teams can throw at us. It might be other games that we dominate possession, but we don't score a goal, and then we maybe lose a stupid goal out of something. It's just, you know, that's going to be the nature of this league. It's not like playing under 18 football. It's like the complete opposite, really, of that. And this is what we're going to find out about a lot of players. What did you make?
I think some of the Challenge Cup games that I think that'll be. I mean, I think you done an interview. I can't remember if it was with Stevie Kelly talking about one of the games, and it was like, that sort of thing. And I think I'm not saying that it's going to be like that every single week, but I think they're going to be asked quite different questions than they would be playing against their own age group, and that ultimately has to be what's going to make them better players. How they manage to problem solve on the pitch, and how they manage to cope with different situations. You know, so I'm looking forward to it. I'm disappointed the first Bo'ness game's not in my backyard right enough, but I'm sure I'll get along when it's the return fixture.
Yeah, I mean, these are all things. I've sent a couple of questions in to the academy to find out what's going to be happening with, you know, how many people can get into the ground at Dumbarton, what's the current state of play with social distancing. So as soon as we get some of those answers, we'll put them out on Twitter, or we'll do it on the next pod. So hopefully, and another few questions that people ask, well, like season tickets. It sounds as though that's something the club have looked at, but I think, yet again, because of the whole social distancing thing, there might be a limit as to how many they can sell, because they'll have to allow people to queue up on the day to get into the stadium and stuff. So as soon as we know all these things, we'll obviously let people know.
I think it's a bit like the first team that we don't know how that's going to look, but I tend to think like come August, September time for first team and youth level, I think the world will look a lot different to what it does now.
Yeah, I think that's the hope, isn't it, mate? When we get to that period in August, hopefully more things open up. I mean, even if we could get half a stadium at Ibrox, if we could get half of the stadium at Dumbarton opened up to allow people in, it would just bring back some type of normality.
Definitely.
What did you make of the club sort of making a point of playing on grass. Do you think that was important that the club made a point of having the B team playing on a grass pitch?
100%, and I think it's in. We've done the deal with Dumbarton, and we're obviously going to help maintain their pitch, because their pitch will obviously take if we have a tough winter, even with that maintenance, it's going to take a bit of a battering. But you can't have. I don't think it's conducive to these guys' development at that age as well to be playing on plastic every single week. I mean, they're going to come across it at Bo'ness, for example. They've just laid an all-weather pitch a couple of years ago. So I think it's important that we control it for our home games. You certainly wouldn't want a season where you're playing 30 games on a plastic pitch, because that's not going to help anybody's body or or anything.
No, I think that was one of the biggest things. A couple of times when we spoke to people at the club, it was very much that they wanted to play on grass. There was obviously talk with other clubs. I think even Ayr United's name was in the newspaper at one point, that was obviously knocked back. But the club did want to play on grass, and you're absolutely right. I mean, you're talking about nearly a 40-game season. You don't want to be playing every single one of those games on Astro. If you can get as many games on grass as possible, then that can only benefit our players. And it's something that overall I would like to see more grass pitches. But at this level, with the money that's there, I find it hard to be critical of teams at Lowland League level. They've got to look after themselves, and that's just how it is. Moving on to the new head coach or manager, depending on what it is they decide to call the new person in charge. Were you surprised that Kevin Thompson left for Kelty, or did you just think that was only a matter of time before he took that next step?
I think it was only a matter of time, to be honest with you. I think if he obviously he's been very clear. He's got aspirations to return one day as the Rangers manager, but to do that, he has to go out and Peter Lovenkrands is another one. He's obviously left within the last year. He's just taken on a manager's job as well. So these guys, you just want them to go out, be successful. I think Kev Thompson's went to a good club. He's going to be backed. He's brought in some good players. I think they'll look to dominate that division, and you hope that he goes through the divisions and then maybe gets a move to a Dunfermline or somebody of that ilk, and he maybe gets Dunfermline into the top division. And I think he'll know himself that he's not going to go for coaching Rangers youths to first team manager. I think fair play to him. I think he's probably had a lot of offers prior to this.
Yeah.
But good luck to him. Great guy, and he I think good move for Jamie Barjonas to be working under him. He knows him, and I think it's somebody that he's going to have a good relationship with.
Yeah. It's interesting, like a word that I use a lot on the Academy Pods is development. And I think for Kevin Thompson, this is the next stage in his development. He's obviously came to Rangers, as you said. He was under 18s, and now he's moved into the kind of Colts reserve / B team, whatever you want to call it. They've had that many names over the last few years. And he's done a great job, and a lot of the hard work that he does has helped some players make it into the first team. So for him, when he's looking at it now, as you say, I mean, he's going to be thoroughly backed at Kelty. I think they've signed 5 or 6 players already, and they certainly look strong for that level. So no doubt, I think they'll be pushing for promotion this year. I suppose the interesting thing from our point of view, do you think the club will just bring somebody from within the academy and just move them up? Or do you think they might look out with to bring in somebody to take over that position?
It's an interesting one, because, they talk about developing, you'll know better than me what the names that are in the frame further down so it might be a case of somebody that's coaching 15s, moves forward. The likes of your Neil McCanns and what have you always get thrown into a name gets thrown in, but I think we're probably more likely to promote from within. Who that may be, I'm not really sure, but I think that's most likely.
Yeah, that's my gut instinct as well, mate. I think it'll be somebody internal. Because I think if the club were going to bring somebody in, they would have done it by now. You know, obviously the players are reporting back for pre-season. You would like to think if we were bringing somebody in externally, it would have been announced by now, and that the players would obviously be aware of, you know, that happening. So the fact that hasn't happened yet, it's possible that it's just somebody internal and they'll just shift the age groups up a little bit. But also, I think one of the big things to come out was that the person who's actually the manager needs to have a UEFA Pro license. So I'm not 100% sure how many coaches within the academy have that. So yet again, this is something we'll probably find out in the coming days, in the coming weeks, with regards to who's going to be doing that particular job. But yet, once we get that, obviously, I'm sure it'll be well known in Twitter pretty quickly. What about like sort of watching the B team? Is there anybody you're excited to watch at that level? Anybody that you think might do really well and will impress maybe supporters who maybe haven't seen many of these lads?
I think it's going to be interesting just to see. I mean, I think we spoke before we came on about Leon King, for example.
Yeah.
You know, I think somebody like that, I think, is well thought of. The fans have obviously got we all hope that he's going to become a Rangers player for the next few years. But I think to see him, we talk about the challenge of playing against a big bruising centre half.
Yeah.
A big bruising centre half, a big bruising centre forward, like Lee Miller up against Leon playing at centre half, for example. You know, that sort of thing. That could be the making of him. You know, I mean, he's clearly well thought of, and the fact that Steven Gerrard's had him involved in the first team for so long, and he's made his debut and all that sort of stuff. But he's the one player that I'm interested just to see what the next 12 to 18 months looks like for him, because he is still very young, but he looks a big lad, and I think he's only going to grow in stature. And I think maybe playing a season Lowland League might be really, really good for him. And then he could maybe come back into the first team reckoning as one of the 4 centre halves next summer, sort of thing, you know. But he's probably the one player that I'm interested, not even just for the Lowland League, but just as to how the next couple of years looks for him.
Yeah. No, I think that's a very good point, mate. I think Leon, you know, I've never hidden my feelings as to how much I rate Leon. I think Leon's an exceptional talent. I think he's one of those kids that he could be really, really special for us as long as we give him the time to develop. And I mean, even the first 6 months of the season in the Lowland League wouldn't be a bad thing for Leon in my perspective, because he's going to be playing regularly. You know, like I think we play Saturday, Tuesday in the first 2 weeks of the season. Leon would probably gain as much from those first 4 games as he would have done for the last maybe 6 months of development. For all it's great training with the first team, as you say, being out on the pitch and being involved in these games, it's such a big step. You know, playing regularly. And at the end of the day, this is still first team football. You know, this is where, like, you know, guys are out there trying to make money playing in the Lowland League. So like a win bonus could like be huge for these guys. So it's not going to be a walkover. You're going to have a lot of competitiveness in these games. And the big thing for the club is the club have got complete control over it. Decide to pull Leon back for a week and say, look, we're just going to rest you up for a week and you're going to go and train with the first team and this will happen or whatever. Then that's what they can do, because they've got control now. It's not like he's out in loan at another club where they're basically like sort of overseeing everything. You know, he's still with Rangers. We still control what he's doing and what, you know, sort of development he's going to get. And I think that's the big thing.
I think it's like you say. See the fact that they're going to play so regularly in July, just as an example. You know, by the end of August, by the end of the transfer window, he could have played 10 games.
Yeah, exactly.
So and that's going to benefit him more than being involved with the first team. He'll maybe be involved with the first team pre-season training, but I think from a development point of view and making him into a better prospect, I think what you say about half a season, I think would be a good idea.
Yeah, I think that could be the same for a few players, that maybe they'll play the first half of the season, and then there could be a possibility where maybe they look at maybe like sort of developing in another way almost. For me, I'm really looking forward to seeing guys like maybe Charlie Lindsay, depending on how many games he plays. Alex Lowry's somebody that I really enjoy watching. I think Alex is a really talented lad, got really good feet, really smart ball player, and he does things with the ball that most people can maybe only imagine.
He's got hair. I saw a picture of him. He's got a hairstyle like he looks like Pirlo.
He's I tell you something, mate. He's always had that big, sort of arm. But his ability with the ball is just sensational. Some of the goals that Alex can score is just ridiculous. I mean, one of the games last season for the 18s, like watching the highlights back, I mean, it was so nonchalant. It was like he hit it from like 25 yards and it just dips low and back into the goalkeeper. And it's just ridiculous. He's got so much ability. And it'll be interesting to see if he can still do the same things that he can do at 18s level at the Lowland League. And how will guys feel about maybe getting nutmegged and stuff like that? These are the unknowns, isn't it? You don't know how guys are going to feel about that. So that'll be the fun one, I suppose.
That's the thing, though, Willie. I think guys like that. I want to see more of him. I've heard a lot of good reports about him. He looks a baller, as they say. He looks as though he wants to play and wants to create, and it's adding the next wee bits and pieces that then turns him into a first team player. How he copes about the Ian Black that's playing centre midfield for I don't know, Linlithgow Rose or Bowness or whoever it may be, and he kicks him up in the air and kicks him up in the air and kicks him up in the air. Does he retreat into himself, or does he go, I'm just going to keep nutmegging that guy, and that guy's going to end up getting sent off because I've got under his skin?
Absolutely.
And that's
exactly how you look at it. I mean, like, see if you get somebody like that rattled and they end up getting sent off the pitch, then you've won the battle. And that's how to win the battle, is by winning the game, by making sure that you have that extra 1% on him. And that's the difference in every game, isn't it? Just quickly on Alex. Alex was one of 5 players to sign new deals. Alex Lowry, Adam Devine, Connor Allen, Robbie Ewer and Robbie Fraser all signed new deals. The first 4 signed until 2023. Robbie Fraser signed for a year until 2022. So great to have those guys signed on new contracts. And obviously previous to that, Jay Hogarth had signed a new deal as well. So Jay might be another one that will play a lot of football in the Lowland League. You obviously know his dad quite well, so I'm sure Miles will obviously be at the games watching Jay if he gets the chance.
I think Jay's obviously, he was very fortunate towards we spoke about this before. He got involved with the first team, and he's had a couple of months where he's actually been training with Alan McGregor and John McLaughlin and what have you. So I think that's going to hold him in very good stead. But I think, like his brother, he'll want to get out and play games, and if it's a loan deal and a loan deal and a loan deal and a loan deal, I mean, it's these kids, particularly goalkeepers, and I think it's just like we're saying about Leon King. A goalkeeper's the same situation. Corner gets put in, and there's Lee Miller bundling the goalkeeper into the net. But it toughens up the goalkeepers as well, because they're playing against. It's no guys of the same stature. It's big boys that have played for 10, 15 years at the highest level.
No, I think that's the exciting thing, isn't it, for a lot of these lads. It'll be seeing things that they maybe haven't seen before. But I'm sure Jade's dad will let him know pretty quickly that he's going to get a wee bit. He's probably going to get a wee bit for defenders. He'll get a wee bit for strikers. But look, it's all about development. It's all about seeing these things for yourself and understanding it. I'm sure his older brother Nicky had to go through it when he's been out on loan a few times. Jay'll get that exact same experience. But I'm sure his dad will laugh when he's on the touchline and maybe Jay's had a wee couple of hits to the face. But look, I mean, that's just how it is, isn't it? His dad had to do it. Nicky's had to do it. And, Jay's up next.
I've got a lot of respect for the kids that want to go out and they don't want to stay within a comfort zone. And I think the way that the club is now run at the youth level, I think they're constantly being challenged. They're not allowed to be in a comfort zone at any time, So I think whether they're playing Lowland League or whether they're going out and playing at, say, League One or League Two level or Championship level, it's about them developing themselves and making themselves better for when they come back to Rangers or when they leave Rangers in the future.
No, that's absolutely it. I mean, as you pointed out very early on in this pod, Nicky's previous loan spells will allow him to get a good club this summer because of those loan spells. Because if Nicky had just stayed at Rangers for 2 years and never went out on loan, how many clubs would have taken a chance on Nicky? But the fact he's been out on loan, the fact he's done well, means that clubs will know who he is. They'll know how good a goalkeeper he is, and they'll see maybe like a 2 or 3 year, deal on the table that will give him a bit of security and it will give him the chance to play first team football. And that's all you can ask for any of the young players, is that once they leave Rangers, they've got a step that's going to take them into first team football. And that's all that matters at that young age, is playing. That's how I see it anyway. Okay, so we put a wee tweet out earlier asking anybody to fire in any questions to us, and we'll try our best to answer them. So, Cammy, I'll come to you with the first one. Kai Kennedy, part of the first team next season, or do you think another loan is on the cards?
I think he'll probably take part in pre-season in the early stages. I think a lot will depend on the first team, the likes of Brandon Barker, Jordan Jones, being moved on. Ideally, I would like to see Stevie Kelly, Josh McPake, Kai Kennedy all pushing this summer to become part of that. To become part of that first team group of, say, 20, 24 bodies. Kai done well at Wraith, I think, very early on, and I think he probably, as often happens, they tail off a wee bit because it's hard to maintain that sort of level. But if I was a betting man, I would probably say another loan for Kai.
Yeah, I tend to agree, mate. I think another loan, hopefully to a top tier club, somebody in the Premier League, somebody that, the same sort of loan deal that Stephen had potentially, where he can go and get 20, 25, 30 games over the season. I think that would be great for Kai, and it would show his level of quality in that, tier of football. We've obviously seen it in the Championship. He did well at Inverness Cali. He did well at Wraith. So the next feasible step is to go up a level, and that would be the top tier. It might be those clubs in England interested. We'll obviously see more over the coming weeks, I'm sure. Okay, the second question. Do you expect the club to try to sign any young players for the Lowland League? I know you've not maybe seen that many guys, but it does look as though we're going to be a few bodies short. So do you expect the club to go and sign some players to maybe just add up the numbers?
I think so. I think a lot. It's been very quiet at all levels of the club, apart from obviously players moving on. So I think you'll probably find a wee bit. What's the first fixture? The 17th of July. That's only what's that? 3 weeks away. I think you'll find maybe in the next 7 to 10 days. I think there might be guys that are already in the training centre, maybe training as trialists or whatever it may be. But I would expect bodies to be added, maybe 3 or 4 over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, I feel the same, mate. I mean, obviously, normally I would be at the games. You would maybe hear these things. You would maybe know that somebody's coming in. The fact that we've not been able to get access to the games now for a year or so makes it difficult. But looking at the numbers, looking at the squad size that's required, looking at the age groups that we're going to use, it would probably suggest that we are going to sign a few new players. So I would imagine that's something that's already been done in the background, and the club will announce it in due course. Okay, final question. We obviously kind of touched on Leon a wee bit a couple of minutes ago. If Leon doesn't play in the Lowland League next season, would you still like to see him go out and loan somewhere?
Aye, definitely. Extend his. every conversation I have is about announcing contract extensions, and it's usually to do with Connor Golson and guys like that. But I think the same situation. Leon's going into the last year his contract. I think the phrase is always about seeing a pathway, and I think he's obviously, as long as he sees a pathway to the first team, sign an extended deal for another couple of years and go. And I don't know what level we would be looking at to pitch him at for a loan, but I do think it's important that he plays. You know, I think the most, whether it's at Lowland League level or whether it's going out to we've got seem to have a good relationship with Queen of the South, for example. Does he go to a Queen of the South and play there alongside another experienced centre half sort of situation? But I think the most important thing is that he plays games, whether that's with Rangers or a development loan somewhere.
No, you hit the nail on the head there, spot on, mate. I mean, he's in the last year of his contract, so I would imagine the club would like to get him down, you know, and sign for another few years. As part of that contract, I'm sure there's discussions as to where he'll go, you know. So, you know, first 6 months of the season, does he stay with the B team? And then maybe second half of the season, maybe they look at a different loan because maybe he does well in the Lowland League. Is it that, you know, they keep him with the first team for the first 6 months and then let him play the second 6 months? I'm sure all these things are done behind closed doors where they'll have the proper discussions. And the club will know better than us at the end of the day. You know, they'll know where Leon is in his development. I'm sure Steven Gerrard will have a discussion with that as well. The fact that he's been in and around the first team, they might have an idea as to where he's going to go or where they would like him to go. But yeah, I think, like I said, the paramount thing for Leon's get him signed on a new deal. It then allows the club to develop him further over the coming years. And there's nothing to say that in 18 months' time, 24 months' time, it's not Nathan Patterson at right back and Leon King at centre back. And that's 2 academy players. And then you can still have Stephen Kelly, you can still have Kai Kennedy, you can still have Josh McPake, James Maxwell. You know, there's so much talent within the academy. And I really hope that as many people as they can get to the B team games. I hope they get to enjoy the talent of the footballers that's coming through the academy, from Jay Hogarth to Lewis McKinnon to Adam Devine to Connor Allen to Alex Lowry, Charlie Lindsay, Robbie Ewer, Ross McCausland, all these guys. There's so much talent, and I hope that when, you know, all the madness of lockdown's over, we can see 1,000 people, 1,500 people supporting the young guys, because it's something that they don't get at the academy games. It's only when they get to play at cup finals that they can get to see that kind of crowd. Whereas being in the Lowland League, there's a chance that over 25 games, potentially 30 games, could have a capacity crowd, which for us is brilliant. It'll let us see how the players react to it. It'll let us see how the players cope with all the different things that's going to happen. And I think that's the exciting thing for me as much as anything else, mate.
I think what you mentioned, James Maxwell there, he's another one that I've got high hopes for. I certainly don't think he'll play Lowland League after having such a successful season with Queen of the South. But I think a bit like Kai Kennedy, I think a move. I spoke to you a few weeks ago, and I said, see a move to the likes of a Hearts or somebody like that. I think with fans back in the stadium as well, it's a ground where there's a good atmosphere. There's an air of expectation, which I think would be good for these guys to basically give them a taster for what playing for Rangers is about.
No, look, I think that is the thing for me. It's like, I mean, leaving players at the academy who are not playing, I mean, that doesn't develop players. Getting them out, let's see how they cope with the pressure of playing at different levels. That'll always be the key to telling us how good a player can be. Thanks again for everybody joining us. We've kind of run on a wee bit. We're about 34, 35 minutes, which is a wee bit longer than normal, but it's always great talking about Rangers, so let's not complain about it too much. As I say, I put out a tweet recently, all being well with the Lowland League. I don't know what will happen with the pre-season games, but hopefully once the Lowland League starts, we'll hopefully get access to the games. The plan is to do 2 or 3 podcasts a month, talking about how the games have went, you know, the reaction to maybe a defeat, to a victory, to how players are doing in each game, we'll get Cammy back on. We'll chat to guys that have been at the games. Hopefully, all being well, if the club allow us to, we'll get maybe like a player interview, a coach interview in there as well. So thanks for joining us. Look forward to seeing you again on the pod. Thanks very much, and we'll speak to you all soon. Cheers.